Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Coffee with Mayor and City Manager. We're so glad to have you all with us this morning. We have a special treat to get started. So first I should introduce my co-host, City Manager Jess Knudsen.
Merry Friday.
And I'm Mayor Cal Sheehy, but we have a special guest from Republic Services that's going to join us and give an update on all things trash and recycling and all of that good stuff. And he'll take a few questions, and then we'll get into our normal program where we give updates on things that are happening within our community, and then we'll take any questions you have about anything we covered or anything else that might be on your mind that we did not cover. I'm also going to introduce my colleagues early because Councilmember David Lane's going to take around the microphone for Republic Services. So thank you, Councilmember Lane, for being here this morning with us. So we'll turn it right over to Mark. I actually don't know.
We use the handheld?
Yeah, I guess we will have to use the handheld. Yeah, so Mark Masterson from Republic Services. He's the general manager here for our office. So we'll turn over to Mark to talk trash.
Talk trash.
Talking trash. Good morning, everybody. Well, hey, first of all, thanks for inviting me, Mayor and Jess. Happy to be here. Just wanted to go over a couple things that we're doing. We're pretty excited about and give you kind of some heads up on your trash service in Lake Havasu. We're real proud of our team and what we do. And I want to start by saying our customers in the Lake Havasu market specifically are extremely passionate about trash and recycling. You, ladies and gentlemen, really care about your environment, and we've been really proud to be able to partner with the city on a few things that I'll get into. But more importantly, like the cleanup days, we've been working really hard to keep the road by the landfill a lot cleaner. We send an employee out there multiple times a week for a few hours every day to keep that roadway clean. We do realize that trash is dumping trash in the desert is a real thing here, and we're doing what we can to help with that. So I just wanted to touch on a couple quick things, kind of give you a history and what we do every day. So on the just Lake Havasu market, we have 11 residential drivers, and we have 8 commercial drivers. We pick up 94 tons of MSW residential trash a day. And your totes equal about 26 to 27 pounds per tote per day. So that just do the math. That equals out to 12,692 customers we service every day. They're called drive-bys. Now, not every customer's home during the summer or during their certain day, but our drivers average 1,154 customers every day that each of our 11 drivers service, which is quite a bit, right? And out of that, we're really proud of our service. We have the absolute highest customer service rate in our whole company, and we're very proud of that. We average about 4 missed pickups a day. The goal is 0, obviously, but when you're talking 12,692 drive-bys, and we average 3.5 to 4 a day, and I'm not gonna lie. Some of the times, people forget to bring their trash out, and they call us, and magically it's out when we get there. So thank you for your passion and helping us take care of the community. On the commercial side, we do 94 tons in commercial as well. So it's almost a mix, right? But the commercial boxes at the restaurants and the commercial facilities. We pick up 732 commercial boxes a day in Lake Havasu. That averages, I had to write this down, but 94 tons, and our drivers average 61 lifts an hour. So our commercial trucks pick up basically one commercial 3 or 4 yard container a minute throughout their day. And we can't do that without you all. And that's because our customers have their trash ready. They have the right stuff in the right boxes most of the time. But we're always trying to get better. And I did bring a couple things up. I think one area where we can all improve is the recycling side of things. Out of the basically 200 tons we pick up a day, we pick up about 23 tons a day of recycling. The average recycling tote, most all Lake Havasu residents have a trash tote and a recycling tote. The recycling tote averages 7.2 pounds, where the trash averages, almost 28 pounds. So we don't get near the weight, but unfortunately, out of that 21 tons or so we pick up, about 70% of it is contaminated. And we have to, it has to be thrown in the landfill. How that process works, we don't have a recycling sorting facility here. So we take all of the recycling and we load it in compactor boxes and we haul it to our recycling plant in Las Vegas to sort. But unfortunately, with the contamination rate being just right at 70%, most of our hard work gets thrown to the landfill anyway. So our goal really this year is education. We've got lots of things we want to start, and it really starts with the youth. Know what you throw, right? There's a lot of people have misconceptions of what's good to throw, what's bad to throw. And I think if we work together, we can get that recycling rate, contamination rate. I think the goal, if we can even get to 50%, we're saving, 4 or 5 tons a day from going into the landfill. So I'm hoping to continue that education this year. We've got a really good sales executive, Nikki Nickel, who some of you may know, that's really been working hard to get the message. So, and then lastly, I just want to talk about going back to the passion of the customers. A couple weeks ago, we held a household hazardous waste event here. We had a record turnout. We did one in December of last year, and the city and Republic Services decided to partner again to have a second one, to have 2 a year. And we decided to do that in April. And I guess it's good and bad, but we sold out, basically. The people that came to do the services got so much hazardous waste that they didn't bring enough boxes to get it all, so we missed out on some of that. But the good news is Justin and I have talked, and we're going to actually have another one sooner than later, because we weren't able to service all of our customers that took the time to put that stuff in and get recycled and disposed of in the right way. I mean, we obviously want to make it disposed easy for you all, and we got so much problems with people disposing in the desert. We want to obviously discourage that. So be looking in the news and the calendar, social media. We're going to come up with an extra hazardous waste day for our consumers. We're going to extend the hours a little bit, and we want you to have that ability to bring that household stuff in so we can take care of it. And I think that's really all I got, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. We really appreciate your customers and our partnership with the city, and look forward to taking care of you. So with that, like I said, I'll be happy to answer some questions.
Yeah, so as Councilmember Lane makes his way around, you want to tell us what's contaminated recyclables? What is it? What's contaminating it?
So the main thing is know what you throw, and I brought it. It's really easy. So in real layman's terms, I'm just gonna read it. Your container should only contain cardboard, paper, metal cans, plastic bottles, and jugs. And it has to be clean and dry. So anything with any liquids in it contaminates the whole load. Another thing to that is if a lot of people think they're doing the right thing by taking a plastic bag and putting their all recycling in a bag, well, that contaminates everything in the bag, right? So, and your pizza box, it's cardboard, right? But it's also, depending on which pizza parlor you go to, they have a little more grease than others in the bottom with that pepperoni. Once it's saturated with any kind of liquid material, that's also non-recyclable. So it's real simple. If we could follow that. Last year, we did have people put batteries in some recycling, and we had a pretty big fire at our little recycling center. We had 2 fire trucks there, did extensive damage. And the worst part about it is it really restricted our ability to recycle even how we were doing it, because with the wind we get, we have to have the nets up. Otherwise, we're blowing all the recycling all over town. And so we really struggle with that. So yeah, that's what we need to be doing.
So when we talk about contaminated load, if you make a mistake just in your bin at your home, that then goes into the truck and it contaminates the whole truckload. So you contaminate your entire neighborhood of potential recycling. So if we had 100 homes in this one truck and one home had things that were contaminated, the other 99 homes, good efforts, go to waste. So it's really important. There's also a sticker on the top of your bins that with what Mark just read that will tell you exactly what to do. And if you don't know or you're questioning it, just throw it in the trash. I know that sounds horrible for me to say, but at least it's better to do that than waste the entire recycling load. And then if you have a question, certainly call Republic Services and they'll answer it for you. So
yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but when in doubt, throw it out actually is much smarter in this particular circumstance than it probably sounds like it should be. But if you do have one or two bad, we still sort it. Everything goes through a sorter and we get what we can. But once it's contaminated with liquids, especially, it's really no good and it has to be landfilled.
The inside of the truck should be filthy and dirty. What is it, washed every day?
No, we have certain trucks that do recycling only. And so basically we have 4 we bought a new truck last year. We have 4 trucks that exclusively pick up recycling. And it's segregated that way. We don't, we still go through the sorter at Las Vegas to where they can sort it all. The main thing's liquid. A little bit of residue that hits the edge isn't near as bad as, we'll talk like the hazardous waste day, like paint. Paint can do it. A bunch of grease. People, unfortunately, it's the 5% of people that kind of ruin it for the other 95% that are doing it right. And I can tell you, Lake Havasu City residents do it right. I mean, you all are extremely passionate about your trash, and I love it because it makes our job easy. But unfortunately, a small percentage of people that don't want to do things the right way, call it lazy or whatever, they kind of ruin it for everybody else. So, but yeah, we have recycle trucks exclusive on the residential side.
Having participated in some of the desert cleanups, it's amazing the junk that gets put out there. I wondered if anybody's had any conversations about putting bins or roll-offs or something at some of the classical entry points to the desert where a lot of the side-by-sides go, and then those could be picked up either weekly or on some sort of a schedule to keep that area clean. Maybe it would encourage people to use that instead of the desert landscape.
So that's a great question, and we've actually talked about that. I think the biggest deter from that is the illegal dumping that other people, commercial sites would use, because obviously, commercial companies have to pay a price to go to the landfill to dispose of commercial stuff. And the fact that they're just out there in the middle of nowhere is kind of a ticket for illegal dumping. And I know that is kind of a double-edged sword there, right? We have talked about that. We participate in all the cleanups, and we donate a lot of roll-off boxes for all them and bags. But we'll be happy to listen to any ideas or alternatives, because obviously that is a big deal for us as well as you, because unfortunately we're the trash providers. So whether we lose garbage, whether it blows out of the landfill or it loses it in one of our trucks or something, I mean, we're always the easy blame. So anything we can do to help deter that, we want to help. So
when it comes to residential customers, there is no reason to go out of your way to dump anything in the desert. We have bulk pickup, so you're able to call Republic Services.
6 times a year.
Yeah, 6 times a year. They'll come out to your home and pick up your things that are bulky and don't fit.
Yeah, if you have a refrigerator, if you have mattresses, if you don't have a pickup or a trailer to haul, we come out 6 times a year to your location at no cost and pick up that stuff for you. So if you can get it out of your front door and out to the curb, you call our office and we'll schedule that in and we'll get it picked up for you. So to the mayor's point, there's really no reason to take anything out to the desert, because we've got that covered for you.
2 quick questions. What time do you start in the morning, and what do you take for drop off at your facility if somebody were to bring it to you?
So we have our commercial crew gets there at 3:30 in the morning. We try to get our commercial drivers out. They service downtown and all the high volume areas, the restaurants and stuff. They usually hit the road about 4 every day we have a safety meeting, and they're on the road about 4 a.m. And we try to get them off the streets around 2:30, just to try to beat the congestion. The residential drivers all get there at 4:45, and they try to get out about 5 to 5:15. We try to be diligent with the noise as much as we can, because we know we like our sleep, right? So we don't try to hit the residential areas too early, so y'all can enjoy your rest. But we average about 10.5, 11 hours a day per driver just to get those drive-bys done. And as far as what we take at our facility, we do have full recycling capability, including electronics. right out front. So if you want to pull into our office, there's a bin right there, and it's all separated from cardboard to plastics to paper, and you can dump it anytime we're open. Our gates are open, at the very earliest 3:30 in the morning, and we're usually there till 6 at night. So bring it on down.
Question. You said contaminated loads or contaminated containers. So I got a jar of spaghetti sauce, okay? And I dumped the spaghetti sauce out, but I still have residual inside the container. You want me to wash it out? Is that what we want to do?
So
let me finish though. We're trying to save water, correct? So it's almost like it's, one way or the other. You want to save water, but you want me to wash the container out before you get it. And I understand this because I did recycling as part of my job. So what do? Do we waste water washing a container out, or do we just throw it in a container that says it's going to the landfill?
So, I mean, if it was incidentally put in the recycling and you have a little bit of, spaghetti sauce in your trash, what I would take would be, a paper towel and just wipe it out and try not to use, you have to use a little water, right? From our point, if it gets wet and contaminated, it just goes to the landfill. It kind of goes back to the when in doubt, throw it out thing. But at some point, you're going to have to clean, the container is going to have to be dry. Otherwise, everything you put in is going to be contaminated.
I get that.
I think,
if you want people to do it voluntarily, and I'm not complaining about it, it's the right thing to do. But the minute you introduce another process for people to do, the chances of being successful diminish, okay? If you say to me, Tim, you got to wash that container out, I'm going to say to myself, wow, I'm not going to wash it out, or I'm not going to clean it out, or whatever the case may be. So I guess you're just as well off throwing it in the other container then, right? We are trying to save water here. And in a lot of cases, that's...
When it comes to our natural resources, it's a whole of approach. And so we need to find the balance on all of those things. And so, if we just throw out the piece of glass, the glass container for the spaghetti sauce in your example, that adds to the landfill. What's the cost benefit for the water? So each person individually needs to take that into account for what's best for them. But that would contaminate. So when in doubt, throw it out.
Okay. One more comment. The household hazardous waste collection process that you guys ran 2 weeks ago, I've been through that a couple of times. I was with the CERT team for a long time. The problem that occurred there was that you shut the line down before noon, right? So you've got people who want to try and do the right thing, and they show up at 11:30 in the morning, and you've got the line shut off. And it's happened before, okay? That's frustrating for people. It's incumbent upon you guys as we begin to run these programs to make sure you've got the right amount of equipment there and people, so that if I show up at 11:45, that line should still be open. At 12, it should close, but not before 12. And that's where the frustration comes in for people. And I was there that day. I got there at 10 o'clock. The process worked. You go through the whole thing. But if you show up at 11:35 and the line's shut down, that's not the way to run that program, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's a valid point, and it's something that actually we've met with and discussed, and it's a learning curve for us that we're going to get better at. And that is one of the main reasons we're going to have quote-unquote makeup day for the people who weren't able to get through the line. And we're going to extend the hours to make sure, because we want what you want. We want to do the right thing and get that stuff recycled and disposed of in a proper way. So, basically, Republic Services and the city, basically, we put on the event, but we hire a third-party company to come do it with their skills and licenses, we underestimated the volume that would be out this spring compared to last fall. By we, I mean the third-party vendor we hired. So we're gonna come back and do it again, and we will, we'll definitely get some social media and paper type stuff to where people understand how we do it. And if we say it's from 8 to 12, we'll make sure that if you're in line at 12 o'clock, you're going to get taken care of. That's a fact. So.
Real quick, just a little behind the scenes on this hazardous household waste. It might seem like it's free because there's no transaction with money happens. It's not free. And so it's built into the cost that we all pay for trash services. So you have a consumer like me that I don't need to go to hazard household waste day. I don't have any of those wastes. But yet we have folks that are doing it at a tremendous level of waste that they have, and we want them to dispose of it properly. But we have to find that balance. So why are my bills more expensive to offset the folks that are using it at a huge rate? And so just keep that in mind. I mean, that's some of the behind the scenes piece where we contract with these companies, but we're paying for it collectively as all of the users. And so just keep that in mind where we have, and as Mark said, we have some bad actors that might be in a commercial sphere that are taking and using this at a residential household waste. So that's just some behind the scenes that you might not think of when you're like, oh, well, of course it should be open till noon and we should have these bins and all those types of things. There's more to it than just that. So yeah, Donna?
First off, I just want to say I think you guys are doing a great job. It's amazing the amount. And I kind of love my alarm clock that goes off on Thursday morning when they come by, because it does get me up and get me going. So I don't mind that at all. But I just wanted to ask, I know years ago the landfill was talked about getting full. How much longer do we have on that, and what are we planning for the future?
Yeah, so that is, I was going to transition that as Mark stepped away on that, just because why does all of this even matter to all of us just as regular customers? You know, this is the first time I heard 94 tons. That's a ton of trash. I can't even believe that we generate that.
It's actually 200. It's 94 commercial and 98 residential. We take 200 tons of trash a day in Lake Havasu.
A day. Like that is, it blows my mind actually, but I just heard it this morning for the first time. But what occurred several years ago, as Donna had mentioned, is we were facing a period where our landfill was going to come to its full build out. We were going to be using the full landfill, and landfills are very, very, very expensive. They're expensive to maintain. They're expensive to close. They're expensive to get a new one. And so we looked at a variety of options, and we looked at getting a new landfill, finding land acquisition, all of these types of things. And then we worked with Republic Services at the time, and we expanded our recycling program. And so before, we used to just have a small little crate, a blue bin that was very small, it's handheld, and you would use that for your recyclables. And then we all had our own trash can. Like, we all provided our own trash can that we bought at the store. And through discussions, we were able to work with Republic Services with a new contract. At this time, state law had changed. This is 2016, where the commercial side was deregulated. So any provider could come in and do commercial service, and then residential municipalities would do a contract with. And so we looked at a variety of things, and we went to this bin system, which did a lot of different things. It allowed Republic Services to buy new infrastructure with trucks, which would reduce their workman comp injuries, because no longer is a trash hauler out in the street using a trash can that is different at every house that they stop at. So some are really big, some are really little. Back-breaking work for real. And now they were able to put them into these bins. And then we also expanded our recycling. So when we did that, our recycling increased by like 200%. It was huge. And so what we do is you take the recycling out to Republic Services, they sort it, and right now we're doing a bad job, but we're going to do better because that's what Havasu does. And then we put it on a truck, and we take it up to Las Vegas. But all that material is now not going in our landfill. And so we were able to expand our landfill for about 35 years or so. And so we are, because that's such a long range position, we haven't brought in a consultant to reevaluate, but we will as we hit maybe like that 10 to 15 year mark, just to see where we're at. As part of our process, the way that billing works, the billing for trash services is kind of interesting because we don't see it every day because it's on our water bills. And so everybody pays for it in Lake Havasu City. And that's why sometimes you might see on social media blogs or postings or talking to friends and neighbors that might live in unincorporated areas. They believe they live in Lake Havasu and their address is Lake Havasu, but it's not. It's in the county. That might be Desert Hills or some of the neighborhoods along Highway 95. And they don't get the same services. So they have to pay for trash differently than we do, but it's on our water bill. And it includes trash, and as part of that billing model that we came up with through these contract negotiations is there's money that is set aside for future landfill development, closure, build out, all of those types of things. So there's future planning put into that. But that's why it matters to us. So we literally went from 7 years away from having to do something new with a landfill to extending the life of it 35 plus years. And who knows what technology will do back then. And Donna McCoy, who asked the question, thank you for your leadership. You were on the council when we did that. And the increase for consumers was like $1.42 a month. It was really, really small. Don't fact check me on that number. It's somewhere in that neighborhood, but that's 8-9 years ago. So, but it was right in that it was a really small incremental increase on that. So
we have environmental agencies come out and run our sites over with a drone twice a year to check our density and volume. The last one, I believe, stated we had about 33 years life left on the landfill. Nice. So, and the easiest way to extend the life on your landfill is to get better at recycling and recycle where we can and just all work together, right? And I think we're doing that and we're heading the right direction. Just, I think it all starts with education and, the team we have put together as a community, we can do anything, so.
And again, it's all about balance. So when in doubt, throw it out because you don't want to contaminate the entire neighborhood's load. Because that will increase our recycling. And then, of course, each of us do better on our own. And if there are some things that you're just not good at keeping clean or dry, throw it away. And then you'll save the whole neighborhood.
One quick question. You said that we can go to your yard in Lake Havasu from 3 to closing?
Yes, we'd like you there during normal business hours just because we have trucks coming in and out and it's congested. But our administration staff gets there about 7:30 in the morning and they're there till 5.
And where is this located?
It's 2011 College, which is right behind the county building right there off College. And the recycle bins are right out front as soon as you go through the gate on your right.
Are there bins out at the landfill as well, too, if you're out there?
There's a metal separator, and then we do have some other bins. So people that have a small amount of trash, they can dump there instead of going all the way up to the working phase. So we invested in some 40-yard boxes and put a nice concrete pad out there. So if you just had like a small carload of 4 or 5 trash bags, you can dump it right there instead of having to go all up in the, we get about 350 trucks go through the landfill a day. So the less congestion we can keep off that working phase, the safer it is for everybody, right? So that's why we did that. But it's absolutely, if you do want to recycle locally and drop it off though, please bring it down. We'd love to have it.
Right. One other thing thank you, Mayor. We also have cardboard recycling bins at City Hall. So if you're on the south side of town, you don't have to drive all the way up there. You can just come to City Hall.
Yeah, thank you.
And then one thing to mention as well, too, is that we talk a lot about, from the city's perspective and the importance of trash on 95 and trying to eliminate that as much as possible. So our police department with the chief's leadership is looking at traffic details. So if you're not covering your load or if there's trash flying out of your vehicle or your trailer, we'll have officers out there with an eye towards that and a heightened awareness lately. But I bring that up now because I want to thank Mark and Republic Services for the efforts that they've been doing cleaning up trash along 95. So you're hiring employees to go out there with vests and all the appropriate safety gear that are picking up trash along 95. It's making a difference. It's hard to keep up. We're a tourist city, so we have a lot of people that come in from Havasu that maybe don't treat Havasu the way they treat their home. And then with all the untarped loads and things that can happen. But Mark, thank you for your efforts on cleaning up 95. That's a big deal, and we're appreciative.
Thank you. And if you guys have any questions or comments or any thing you'd like to implement, you can give the office a call. They'll get you to me, and I'd be happy to help and listen to anything you have. We participate in, I don't know that I've said no to any community event when it comes to making our city a better place.
Okay.
So, okay, you know what I mean. But yeah, thank you all for your partnership, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Yes.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. Republic Services is an amazing partner for our community, and we're so glad to have Mark here. And, those are huge wins that we talked about. Highway 95 is one of the areas that we all complain about the most. And, Mark stood up and said, yes, we'll help be part of the solution. So, and they continue to do that over and over and over again. So thank you again, Mark. All right, we'll get into our regular scheduled program. We'll go over Lake Havasu city topics, and then we'll answer any questions that you have. So we'll start with a couple of things we've been talking about over the last several coffees, but they're actually done now. So Site 6 opened on Wednesday, May 1st, so that's now open. That's at the top of the island, and we're having a ribbon cutting on May 10th. So 1 week from today, next Friday at 9 a.m., we would invite everyone to participate, come tour the facilities and the changes if you haven't already been out there. But we're really proud of that. And all of that work would not have been possible had it not been for grants from the Arizona State Parks and Trails Board, which we really appreciate that partnership. And then also Representative Biasucci leading the way with SLIF dollars, State Lake Improvement Funds, which is a fund that he was able to push through the legislature to bring back dollars to lake-based communities for funding. And so he's had to do it every single year. It used to be a perpetual fund, but it got swept many years ago. And so each year he has to go back and fight for that. And Senator Borelli always jumps right on to help, as well as Representative John Gillette. So we were able to make all of these things happen through grants, and we're really excited to be able to showcase everything that Site 6 has to offer.
And a beautiful facility, decreased slope, just a really improved area, and it continues to be a free launch for all of our residents in that area. So there were some concerns, and when we went into construction, the city's going to spend these dollars. Now they're going to start charging. It was never even part of the conversation. So that now that it's open, it will continue to be free for anybody that wants to launch in that area.
It also provides one of our fishing docks. And before we went down for renovation, we had a fish grinder that was down there that was having some trouble. But now the fish grinder works too for all of our folks that like to fish. So that's exciting. And we have our eyes on a grant to actually redo the fishing dock as well. So that needs some work. And we do have our eyes on a grant to help do that.
A fishing dock, I believe, is more than 20 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe 25 years old.
Yes. Yeah. But people use it like crazy. So, but come join us next Friday, 9 o'clock, out at Site 6, and we'll celebrate that facility. Right adjacent to that is the Island Walking Path. That's now complete and done. So if you haven't been out there or you're a user of that, it's amazing. We were out there, I think, this last weekend, Saturday or Sunday. Saturday for the shootout with Desert Storm. And it's amazing. The amount of people that use that facility, the amount of walkers and bikers and pedestrians. It's a really nice enhancement. So enjoy that. Not only were we able to do the Island Walking Path, but we also were able to do the parking lot in front of the football field on the island, as well as the main parking lot at Beachcomber and McCulloch Boulevard. Those two parking lots were complete as well as part of that project. And then in our upcoming budget, we're working on the pathway, the Cheaters Way, the shortcut through Granite Island Park. That area will get done in our upcoming budget. So pretty exciting about that. We're also working on the Core City paving and water main project. We talked about this is Lower McCulloch, which you can feel now, the bumpy road if you've driven down there this week at all. It also includes Riviera, some portions of Swanson. But it's not only a road project, but it's redoing the water mains as well under there. We really want to make sure that any infrastructure we do, we get involved with all of the people that would ever need to do anything underneath that road infrastructure. So we'll be doing the water mains. We've been in contact with Frontier and Optimum and Allo and all of those other folks too. So if they have to do any work, they need to do that work at this time so that we're not tearing up the roadway otherwise. That project's scheduled through October.
Yeah, it'll take several months of road construction will be happening. So we get excited to talk about improving our roads. That we pay for it with during that construction time frame. So just ask everybody to be patient with all the efforts. I saw they're down there working on the McCulloch and kind of Capri area this morning with some milling and putting down some fresh oil. And there's no better smell than road work in Lake Havasu City. So, but it'll be several months of road work that'll occur. We also have at the end of this month, we're going to start some pavement preservation. So it's a product called HA5. It's like a heightened fog seal. It's a protectant. So once you lay down that asphalt, you can't just walk away and without maintaining and taking care of that to extend the life of that roadway. So the road work that we did a couple of years ago in the downtown area, in McCulloch specifically, we're going to have some lane and road closures for a day or two, doing the best that we can to get in and out as quickly as we can. But you'll see a fresh black. It'll look like a fresh black road with again that product that'll preserve it and give it another 5 to 7 years worth of life is the goal there. So a couple days worth of pain. The chip seal program and the crack seal program is also underway. So we have flyers that are going on doors in the community to let them know that some construction is going to take place, or the chip seal program is going to take place in their neighborhood. So we make sure that the contractor puts that flyer on the door, so everybody is aware of that occurring in their neighborhood and isn't surprised when they back out of the morning on the way to work or to run some errands. So chip seal, crack seal, pavement preservation, city core project, new utilities when it comes to all these things, and that's all happening now and are about to happen in the next couple of weeks. And the council, the city has plans for more of that, so that'll be addressed in the budget process for next year as well.
So it's easy because we have been so fortunate with road infrastructure investments in this area over the last 12 months or so. It all came together. We were planning with the state and working with our representatives to get money for Highway 95, as well as doing some local projects that we were planning in the process. And so it's easy to make comparisons. So Highway 95, we joked many times in this forum about how miserable it was going to be when we did it, but it really was fantastic. It really didn't impact us very much at all. Unfortunately, these core projects are going to impact us a little bit more because we're also doing infrastructure under the ground. So, at 95 was done overnight. It was a mill and fill. There wasn't a lot of underground work. So these are going to take just a little bit longer. They're also painful roads because they're core city roads. So just like 95, they're roads that we all have to travel to go to certain places or do certain things within our community. So as just mentioned, have some patience. Don't go on the forums and say they don't know what they're doing because Highway 95 was done so much more efficient. Because we know that it's not apples and apples comparison. It's just a little bit different because of the different.
If anything goes wrong with the construction, if you don't like what's happening, the mayor will give out a cell number and you can contact him directly.
They all have it already. So
perfect.
Speaking of Highway 95, we're also wrapping up that project. The last two big components for motorists are the Falls Creek Bridge, which is we refer to as the bumpy bridge heading out towards the mall area. And then there's, I don't know the name, but the one by Oro Grande. Mockingbird.
There you go.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Mockingbird Bridge as well. They're adding a treatment there on both of those bridges. And those, it's like a rubberized material that will hopefully make the transition will be much better from the asphalt to the bridge, but it also hopefully will take out that bump that, the bumpy you felt as you're going along those roads. So they're finishing up that. I was out there on Wednesday night, I think, at the Mockingbird Bridge, and they were actually actively working on it. So the reports we get say that they're going to be done in the next 2 weeks or so. But so that's all of the things that we have with road infrastructure, but lots of exciting things are happening. And as just mentioned, we are talking about our next year's program already. We're really talking about our next 5-year plan, but next year specifically is what we're planning for the road interruptions that we'll have as we upgrade those pieces of infrastructure. We also have some great news on the CON. This is Chief Plofis, our fire chief, has really been working really hard with his team to have redundancy in our system when it comes to medical transport. So these are when citizens need an ambulance ride to a medical facility, how do we address those types of things? As our community was growing, we realized sometimes patients were waiting, upwards of 20 minutes for an ambulance to arrive to just transport them to the hospital for whatever emergent issue that they were having. And like lots of things in Lake Havasu, we're an island of our own. we're all by ourselves. We don't have anyone else we could call for backup, if you will. So we've worked really hard over the last 7 or 8 years to build redundancies in our system. So redundancy when it comes to fresh water, redundancy when it comes to wastewater, redundancy when it comes to emergency medical services and the like. So we're continuing to do all of these things. And the CON is one of those things, but I'll let you talk about it, Jess, because it is exciting what has occurred and just since we met last month and what it's going to do for our citizens in Lake Havasu.
So news this week. Last time we spoke and gave an update on the CON, or Certificate of Necessity, which is basically the authority coming from the state to allow you to provide ambulance services within a certain area. Last time we spoke, we said there was 2 steps left. We had to go. We had already gone before the judge, and we're waiting for the administrative law judge to provide a recommendation to the director of Health and Human Services at the state level. That's done. The recommendation couldn't have gone any better, thanks to the efforts and hard work that took place with Pete Palafis and his leadership and his team, including Tim Maple and Jason Stello. So great news. So Chief is walking on cloud 9 this week, and very thrilled about that take place. Now I believe it's either 30 or 40 days that the Director of Health and Human Services at the state level has to provide their final determination whether or not Havasu gets a CON. So one final step left, and then we'd be able to provide that service. You talk about 20-minute wait times. That was a real thing. With AMR, when we started having quarterly meetings with them, saying what is happening with all this a couple years ago, and got this ball rolling ever since. So you call 911. There's a medical emergency happening at your household or otherwise. Fire response, they're there, right? And then providing medical services from, as in EMTs are responding from the fire department. And then they're looking around waiting. Where is the private ambulance service that is supposed to be transporting this individual to the appropriate care? So, some frustrations occurred as we witnessed all that. They stepped up and provided a little bit better service. And then we all stepped up and in lockstep with AMR to have a shared CON. So AMR will continue with their CON, and then Lake Havasu City will have a CON, and there'll be more ambulance, more transport services out in the community for our residents. And we're able to pay for the purchase of the ambulances and the services and the personnel and equipment that it takes to provide that through the same fees that are generated by AMR that's out there. So no additional cost, taxpayer or otherwise, or taxes or otherwise to the taxpayer, and more service. So that's a win-win.
Yeah. So certificate of necessity, sometimes, we talk about it because it's every day we've been working on this, but what that is in state law, they have, to ensure that communities have access to ambulance services, these companies come out and get these certificates of necessity, and they're very large areas. AMR's is it 16,000? It's huge, just from Seligman down to Yuma, almost to the Yuma border. It's a huge area. Havasu's included in that. And they move the infrastructure up and down based on a need. So if there was a major accident up at I-40 and 95, the assets are moving that way, which is what causes some of those issues for transport locally if something like that were to occur. But in order to make sure that communities have access to ambulance services, this is what a certificate of necessity does. So it guarantees that company the ability to have business, they would make their investments and bring employees and equipment and all those types of things to that community to serve it, but they need to know that they're going to have business and not have all of these other people trying to do it. So if other people want to do it, they have to go through this process that we've been working on for a few years, and now we'll have that shared certificate. So all Lake Havasu City is going to do is we're going to do Lake Havasu City's boundaries. We're not moving our assets up to I-40 should an accident occur up there. We do have some agreements that we would help in a catastrophe, but for the most part, we're staying here locally, and we're only going to transport to the hospital or to the emergent facility. We're not going to do facility transfers. Say you break a hip, you get transported from home to the hospital, you get that situation fixed, but then you might need to go to a rehab center. We're not doing that transfer. We're not going from the hospital to the rehab center. AMR will schedule that, and you'll do that. We're only doing emergent services And we'll be arriving at the vehicle that's closest to the emergent situation. So we're not going to be chasing each other. Our relationship with AMR is, we know where their assets are through our CAD systems at dispatch, and we know where our systems are at. Ours are going to be housed at Fire Station 1, which is just adjacent to this building here, and Fire Station 2, which is off of Kiowa, our training facility. So, one on the north side, one kind of central of our community. And we'll be able to know which transport vehicle is closest, and that'll be who's dispatched. So that way the time for the patient is expedited, and they can get to the emergency services that they need, depending on whatever the situation is in that emergency. So really exciting. Again, congratulations to Chief Palafis and his team, and thank you for all of your hard work making that happen. So. We also got another great piece of news this week. The city is here to provide services for all our citizens. That's what we do, we do that based on the priorities that citizens bring to us through your elected officials and our city team. But we are a business too, so there are business components that we do. So we have an electric bill just like you do. We have all of those types of things, but we had word that our bond rating. So this is the rating that financial institutions look at us as a business, was upgraded. So we were at AA minus, and we were upgraded. We got news this week that we were upgraded to a AA. So we moved up, which what that helps us is it helps us with access to funds should we need to do it. We don't really borrow money, so it's not a problem that way. But if we wanted to, our interest rates would be more favorable. We'd have more opportunity to do so. But that doesn't all just happen without really hard work and good leadership at the city. So congratulations to Jess and his team, Jill Olson, our administrative services director, her team in finance and accounting, and the council. We updated our policies, and we have our budget stabilization reserve is what we call it, BSR. The news sometimes calls it a rainy day fund, but we increased that this last year through the cycle to 50%. So we have 6 months of expenditures that we set aside by policy, by financial policy, to ensure the continued operations of our community. Should a downturn happen in the economy or something happens with flow, all of those types of things. But we were able to do that. And those types of financial policies, the great management from Jess and his team and Jill Olson are all contributing factors. I'm sure you see each year Jill and her team are honored with, I'm going to get that. It's a really mouthful.
Budget award.
Yeah, the budget award. Yeah, he simplifies it. But there's an office that goes and reviews all of our stuff, and they always are awarded with accolades for their presentation, and their review and analysis and providing the information, which is always available to everybody. If you just go to our website, you can see some of the great work that they do. But it's a really exciting additional piece of news.
It is exciting because the last time we did a type of analysis to look at our bond rating was 2016. So this is the first time in several years that they were able to do it. So this is an outside independent firm that is protecting the interest of those that have purchased municipal bonds from Lake Havasu City. They want to know that those bonds are secure as those that have hold those bonds. So that company comes in to protect them by looking at our information, our financial statements, asking lots and lots of questions, and about a 3-week process of them coming in and pulling information, asking more questions and more questions and more questions. So when you have somebody that's very critical, has a very critical eye that comes in looking at our financial condition, and they come back and say that they're going to improve our bond rating because of that's an affirmation that Havasu's in a good financial condition, with an eye towards the future. So we're not just making sure that we have a strong financial outlook for next 12 months, but we take the care and concern through the BSR and the reserves to make sure that we're in a position for the long term. So that's very good news. It is. Thank you, David. And that's, again, thanks to Jill Olson and her team for everything that she does. another budget award. I think we're gonna have to spend some money on another shelf because they're filled with too many awards. But that's because of all the hard work and effort that Jill and her team bring to the table.
So speaking of finances, we have our next budget work session is next Thursday at 9 a.m. I believe that's the 9th. Yeah, so May 9th at 9 a.m. here in this room at the City Council chambers. And that'll be where we go over our operating budget. We've already had one work session that was really focused on our capital improvement plan and an overall financial outlook for the community. And now we'll talk about the operating budget on the 9th. And so the operating budget is actually the department budgets, how staffing levels, supplies, copy paper, all of those types of things, the things that we actually operate on a daily basis. And that'll be again on May 9th, 9 a.m. here in this room. So far, we've had some really good conversations about, what we'll be doing. We know a few things so far, where all of the budget stuff that is being predicated based on the feedback council gave to the city team is no tax increases. The tax rate will remain flat. This will be the 6th year in a row that the tax rate remains the same. We still will have to have a truth in taxation hearing because we will be taking in some additional monies from our property tax levy, and that's based on valuations of homes. So the home values have gone up. So even though the rate's the same, the value has gone up. And then also new construction. So you convert from vacant land to anything that was built on that land. That's additional money because now the value of that with an improved structure on there. So it's about $400,000 additional money that we will be taking in through property tax. But again, the rate stays the same. And this is the 6th year that we've done that. No debt issuance, so we're not planning on issuing any debt or taking out any loans for anything within our budget, or any additional tax increases. So no proposed tax increases whatsoever. We are also looking at additional investments in infrastructure, so additional roadway infrastructures, some park infrastructure, and the like. So pretty exciting stuff. And again, doing all of this with the same resources that we've had throughout this whole process. So good things are coming forward. I don't know, Jess, if you have any tidbits you want to share about the budget or the work session?
Sure. I think to add to that too is that there's really been a much more of a focus in the last couple of years on grants. So we're acquiring a lot of money through grants and different opportunities that are out there. And just spoke with the Army Corps of Engineers yesterday on a meeting, and they're making a determination on a grant we put out there last year. So it's been a full year, but trying to get some money that in the vein of water efficiency and water conservation. So maybe that's investment we can put into our water mains or look at effluent within some of our city parks. So less potable water, and then utilize that grade A plus effluent. So a lot of effort when it comes to being conservative from the use of the local taxpayer dollars. And an emphasis on grants, which has been really good. We talked about the CIP. We also talked a little bit about a proposed project for a second pool, which would be located in the existing footprint at the Aquatic Center in that little outdoor area that's out there. So we've heard a lot from our residents in the last couple of years about the demands for that type of facility. So we have those that are daily lap swimmers. We have the kiddos that are there for recreation. We have the 2 swim teams that are out there, the classes for water aerobics and otherwise. All these people want to use the pool right now. And so trying to schedule that has really been a burden. And then we're hearing from them that there's a demand that's there. We're able to do without any purchase of additional land and utilize the operations that sit there. So very minimal in terms of the ongoing operations of a second pool in that area. So trying to do the best we can and trying to figure those things out as we move forward. The budget work session next week, we'll talk about another investment into our existing parks. So not the construction of new parks, but we see it. We're on the parks. We see our water fountains. We see our ramadas. We see our different equipment. Things that are getting old that need to be replaced, painted, or maintained otherwise. So an investment in that area as well. An additional $5 million coming from the general fund into our streets fund for more road projects. In addition to that, another $2.5 million coming from the general fund into into that same vein for all the utilities underneath those road projects, because we want to make sure that if we're going to put a new road down, we have brand new or updated water and sewer lines underneath our roadways. So there's a lot. I mean, I could sit here and talk about all the different things that are out there. One thing our police chief, Chief Sterling, has done is brought an idea after some conversations the last couple of years, introducing 2 brand new positions that we're calling police interns. So we've had a couple of things that address us. One is we've heard from our residents quite a bit about, some type of law enforcement presence that would, in our parks. So where we have maybe at the skate park and there's some disruptive activity that takes place that's impacting our children in that area, or just the different things that happen within our park areas or otherwise. So we can
animals in the park,
Rotary, electric bikes that are going way too fast in our parks, things like that, which is and we're not going to take a sworn officer and put them down in that position. That's not what they're trained for. That's not their job. That's not what they want to do. They want to get out there and make sure they're protecting and serving the community at large. So that's a good thing. And then we have a great cadet program. Used to be Explorers, now it's Cadets. So we take our students and our high school students. We grab them if they have any interest, and then they're part of the police operations for a couple of years while they're in high school. And then at age 18, we say, okay, we'll see you in a couple of years. And then we can't hire, you can't be a sworn police officer and have us until you've reached the age of 21. In Arizona.
Have us too, but Arizona, it's an Arizona thing.
So we want to follow suit and try to still engage those high school kids that were part of our cadet program. How do we hang on to them, provide them with some experience of working as a police intern and working in that vein, and then hire them as full-time officers as soon as the day they turn 21. So there's lots of little nuggets in terms of conversations that have occurred, lots of collaboration between the departments, and trying to ear towards being, creative and manage our resources from a fiscally responsible perspective, and so forth. And just the last thing, I talk a lot with the team, with council, and everything. The decisions that we're making now through the budget process are so important. So, you hear the word budget, oh, that's so boring. It is so important because we're talking about the projects, the services, and how the resources from the city are going to be spent. For the next 12 months, from July 1st to June 30th, as we get into 2025 and looking at those. Our measuring stick is 10 years from now. Will we look back on the decisions that we make today and say that was smart? That was a good investment into the community, into our resources, our facilities, the equipment and tools that are needed to provide services to our residents. So you'll see a lot of that. We have like 1998 vehicles that the city is out there. Lots of 2005 trucks coming out of pickup trucks coming out of parks. So we don't want to replace all those at once, because if you replace all those at once, then you have to replace when they all go. So we're trying to, again, several years of chipping away at our replacing our aging fleet, our equipment, whether it's heavy equipment in the public works or our vehicles that our parks maintenance crew use on a daily basis. So, I'll stop there. There's a lot. So that's, I guess, a teaser. So we'll come back on May 9th and we'll talk more about our operating budget at that time.
The agenda's already been posted. So if you want to see all of the materials, it's on the website and you can take a look and see what we're talking about and come engage in the conversation. It is a public hearing. So we'd love to have citizen input during that process as well. Of course, council takes that input all year round through conversations that we have in these forums and others. And it all comes together in culmination in what this actual spending plan is. We'll now talk about a few things that they're really big projects. So we're going to go through them quickly just so there's time for questions from each of you. But our next council meeting is on May 14th, and it's going to be a really big council meeting. There's lots of things that are coming forward on that meeting, things that we've been talking about for a very long time, in addition to just general business. But a few of those is we'll have our next conversation about the Downtown Catalyst project at that meeting. There will be bid award for construction management services for that project. So the Downtown Catalyst, we talked about it last month. We talked about really the history of the America's Best Community competition, how we came to be, how all of those things came to fruition. This project is one of the most vetted projects that we've had in Lake Havasu. We've been actually talking about it since 2016. We went through lots of different iterations of it, and we've been able to come through with a variety of different funding mechanisms. So this is a downtown gathering place in McCulloch and Quario. The city owns that lot already. As envisioned through the America's Best Community process is to have this area for folks to gather and use this this facility for multi-uses. So let it be things where people play fetch with their dog. Let it be a place that an art fair happens on a Saturday morning. Let it be a place that Desert Storm has a great display during the Desert Storm event. Let it be a place that students from ASU might meet and collaborate on a project that they have. So just a really multifaceted use. And if you have been to that facility for any events, you know that the topography of the lot is very tricky. I mean, so if you have a stroller, a walker, a wheelchair, any of those types of things to try and get up onto the lot, it's difficult. And if you've been an event promoter or producer in that area, you know it's very difficult to get power and fencing and all of those things that you need at that lot. We'll be able to, through this process, be able to create this facility that allows everyday citizens to use it for their leisure, as well as be used for an event space like it is right now. So we will be talking through that process. Just if you want to talk a little bit about the money, a lot of it's grant money. Most of what's paying for the Downtown Catalyst is the winnings from the America's Best Community competition, in addition to a grant that we received from Arizona State Parks and a small contribution from the general fund.
As well as another grant we received from WIFA. So 2 words, under budget. So that was important for us to, as staff, to take a close look at it and identify where we have with the base bid that we presented to council will be less than the budget the dollars we have in the budget when you include the grant funds that are for that project. So we'll see a base budget that'll address a few things. We'll talk about restrooms or the pedestrian bridge across the wash area there too. If council wants to go down that path, we can do all of those things under budget with the funds that have been programmed for that project for several years now. So good conversation coming up on the 14th, and from my perspective, from staff's perspective, is just we need to identify what we want that space to look like, and we need to do something.
We have over $2 million in grants that our grantees are getting a little anxious about us not spending it and making it work for them. So we need to do something. And I will just caution, like any park system that we have in Lake Havasu City, it will grow into it. So this might not be everything we originally envisioned right away. But Rotary Park, as it stands today, was not what it was 30 or 40 years ago when we built it. It expanded and partnerships came. So we'll continue to do that in future years. Obviously, we have to have the conversation with the council and the community at the May 14th council meeting. But that's the update now on the Catalyst. Another really big project we'll be talking about on the 14th is the second bridge. We'll have a presentation from the second bridge consultant about all of the things that they've been hearing on their different outreaches since January about the next steps on the second bridge. Will we see what it might look like at this stage?
This is a feasibility study, and we are in the process as a city team to put out the official RFQ to solicit design and construction services. And we're just going to get past this meeting on the 14th to see what the public has to say, to see what the council has to say in terms of direction and what that looks like. When we get to that point, then we start seeing the physical, what the bridge is going to look like physically, right? Right now, we just want to make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of what the costs are for the road, for the bridge, what's feasible, what's not feasible. Does it connect to London Bridge Road? Is there a possibility of it connecting to 95? So those are the types of conversations. I think they identified like 5 different scenarios in terms of the connection and where that looks like. There'll be some conversations you'll see on the screen about this. If it looks kind of like this, it'll cost that much. If it looks kind of like that, it's going to cost a little bit more. If it looks like this, it's going to cost, a tad more than that. So we just want to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page, sharing information, managing expectations, getting good information out to the council, out to the public on what that can possibly be, and obviously get all that input.
So again, the second bridge is brought to us by the state legislature. So Representative Biasucci, Senator Borelli, Representative Gillette, we got direct appropriation funding in the tune of $35 million in last year's budget cycle to do the second bridge. We have the right-of-way on the mainland side. We have a memorandum of understanding with Arizona State Parks because it goes through their park. And then we have right-of-way on the island side that we negotiated with the Arizona State Trust Land. So this whole process is very awkward the way it's happening. We know that and recognize that because there's two things that are occurring. There's the planning process that's occurring right now concurrently with the construction and design of a bridge. The reason why that's a bit awkward is Representative Biasucci 2 cycles ago was able to get a $200,000 appropriation from the general fund of the state of Arizona to do the planning. Then the next year he saw an opportunity to be able to get the money, the $35 million, but we still have to fulfill the obligations of the legislation from the year before. So that Senate bill has requirements that we do things, we check boxes to get here. It's not in, we're not rushing through it. We're doing all of the right things. It's just all happening together. So it feels very, very rushed and very awkward. But we need to do both components to be able to, we have to have a plan, and then we have to have construction documents and what the bridge is going to look like all at the same time. So we are working on those. So that the conversation sometimes gets a little cloudy, but that's why we've been talking about this now since we got the appropriation. So, but again, we're very grateful for our legislative delegation for really fighting for us to get these monies to bring them back to our community. And then our last item, there's many more items on that agenda, but the last one we'll talk about today before we'll take your questions is we'll be introducing a new ordinance at this meeting for restricting the ability for people to sell vehicles, boats, or otherwise on public property. So we get a lot of complaints that things are in public property. So public property is things that the city owns. So they're assets that the city has that are used by our citizens, and other people are turning them into like a yard sale type situation. So
car lot, or boat lot.
Yeah, you can go to certain city lots and see that all of the time. And so, this isn't going to restrict if you have a vehicle, a personal vehicle that you drive, your daily driver, and you have a for sale sign on it because you want to sell it and get a different daily driver or whatever that is. That's totally fine. But
you want to leave it there for a week or two to try to sell your vehicle. That's what the ordinance is.
Totally not fine. So that's what we'll be talking about. It's an introduction. So it's the first time that we'll hear it and the first time the council will hear it. We'll get public input and public feedback. And then at a subsequent meeting, it would then be up for final adoption should the council approve the introduction of that ordinance. We've already gotten a lot of public input. That's why we're even at this stage right now. Is it blocks people's views. One of the biggest areas is on the island at Beachcomber and McCulloch. When the parking lot basically for the island walking path, you see it every day when you go out there. They're all parallel parked along the roadway trying to sell their things. And it's restricting the ability for people to park to use the amenity. And it also makes it difficult to back out of your parking spot without, running into somebody. So, that will be happening, at our May 14th meeting. And at this point, questions? Yeah, we'll go into questions. So Councilmember Lane, will go around with the microphone and, we'll take questions on anything we talked about or anything on your mind. So
James threw that hand up quick.
Perfect. Yeah.
I have a couple of related financial questions. Okay. In the budget, is debt service listed within the capital budget or the operating budget, or is it a third separate division? And then also, are the grants split between whatever divisions there are? And then secondly, would you specify again with the amount of each of the four sources for the second bridge?
Right. So let's talk about debt service. So the good news is Lake Havasu City doesn't have a whole lot of debt.
The sewer.
The sewer is really the debt we have. That was
operating.
The bond that we had to put our initial sewer infrastructure in that started in 2001. That's really the only debt we have when it comes to that. And as Jess said, that's in the operating budget. When it comes to grants, those are department specific. So those are, if we're seeking a grant for the police department, it's in the police budget. If we're seeking a grant for fire, it's in fire. If we're doing for parks and rec, it's in parks and rec. So those are all detailed out in the budget. All those documents are available on the website currently for our current budget and our proposed budget. And certainly we'll have all of those handouts during the work session next week. And when it comes to the third question, the bridge, second bridge. So the amount of money for the second bridge, the first appropriation was $200,000. That was to do the planning of the bridge. And then the second amount that we got in this current state budget was $35 million. And so that's the total amount of money set aside for the bridge at this time.
We got on to the next. We'll get back to you, James, if he needs to.
London Bridge. Oh, sorry. London Bridge Road bike lane. Signs up say please use the bike lane, or don't ride the sidewalks. What about people parking across what appears to be the bike lane? I was riding it a couple of weeks ago at night, and you're going along, everything's fine. Then you have vehicles parked across the bike lane. Is that being possibly looked at, or is that a concern?
Yeah, that's why we have these meetings. So where at? What part of London Bridge Road are they parking?
I was riding from the yacht club towards Palo Verde South, along that section, probably with the motels, people parking out there at night, and all of a sudden you're going along and boom, you got a vehicle in your way, which should be the bike lane. Is that the bike lane, or is it well marked?
Sure, no, great.
Where does
great
it begin
question.
and end?
Great question. And we've historically in Havasu, we've identified these like whether they're bike lanes or that that solid white stripe on the shoulder that gets used for bikes and pedestrians and parking, and it's like but yeah, we could do a much better job in terms of identifying that, especially in areas in the community where bikes are prolific.
There are some bike lane markings down, but they're not real clear and where it begins and ends on London Bridge Road, because that now is an official bike lane from what I understand.
Yeah, London Bridge Road is one of the trickiest roads we have in our community because it has county jurisdiction, city jurisdiction, and we also had some work that the MPO did. So you can actually see when you travel down London Bridge Road, you can see the way that the lane markings are based on different grant fundings or projects that occurred. I mean, they almost look different every section you get. Very awkward. We're getting lots of complaints about the new work that's been done because you come down London Bridge Road and it's 2 lanes, and it goes to 4 lanes, and then down to 2 lanes, and then maybe back to 4 lanes. And at one point it was all 4 lanes. So we're working through all of that right now.
Thank you.
Good morning. I just wanted to say thank you to both Mr. Knutson and the mayor and Ms. Williams for yesterday. For those that don't know, there was a candidate orientation for those of us running for council where they gave us an overview of the entire city, a tour of the fire department and the police department, so we can come in, whoever is elected to the council, with some better knowledge of the inner workings of the city. They took the time out of their day to do that, and we all appreciate it. I wanted to say thank you for setting that up. It was actually a very informative day. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for participating.
On getting back to London Bridge Road, there's also, the cars were parked by hospice, right? I took it as if they worked for hospice because they were parked at the building. And also there's a green, 3 or 4 places where it says cyclists only, but it's painted green for about 50 to 100 feet maybe. What is it?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I had mentioned, is you could travel down that road and see different grant opportunities or road projects that happened on how the funding was able to get. So there was a time that we weren't in a position to be able to do a $10 million infusion of our general fund money to roads that we did this year, or the $5 million that Jess talked about before. So we had to seek grants. And so you can take a look. London Bridge Road has a lot of those grants. Another area is Swanson from Acoma to to Smoke Tree, where there's that multi-use path along the area. That was done by a grant, but some of these grants require either pedestrian plans or bike lanes or a variety of different things. It just depends on what that is. Over the years, there's been lots of conversations over lots of things about traffic flows and how they should go, and so sometimes we find a grant that allows us to run a test area, I guess is what we could say, to see if that is going to work or not going to work, and then we can revise from there. But in the meantime, we get a fresh road that we can have in that area. So the green generally means it's a bike lane, or it's a bike lane. I mean, that's what it's for. So yeah. Well, we have all sorts of signs. We have use the bike lane, get off of the road. I mean, London Bridge Road is a mess, as I said. So we're working through all of the messiness of London Bridge Road. So
I think we're going to introduce new signs that just says "Don't break the law."
Yeah.
With the success of Desert Storm downtown, bringing all these people, it's a good reminder that I was curious about any conversations surrounding multi-level parking or establishing better parking on some of the city-owned lots that exist today, because there's never enough, and people are approaching private property parking on that, and who knows challenges that provides. But I was curious if there's been some conversation.
Sure, yeah. So there's been some long range conversations on that. So I don't want to minimize this at all by what I'm going to say next. Is parking garages are really expensive, and to the tunes of multiples millions of dollars. And I have never gotten one complaint from anyone going to Winterfest or Desert Storm that couldn't find a place to park. Maybe not the most convenient place to park. They might have had to walk a little bit. They might have had to park in a dirt lot. But the cost-benefit ratio at this point is just not there for the very few times a year that we need additional parking in the downtown area. Again, that's not to minimize the conversation or that we don't understand there's a parking challenge. And so what the city has done most recently, actually, is we've engaged with the Downtown Association, and we're working right now on a signage package or a communication strategy for parking, so there's synergy within their own lots. We talked about parking in common, I believe, last month when we were together. That was that conversation that we're having there. We've also strategically purchased different assets in the downtown area for future development, should that be a need in the future. And so we have the Mesquite parking lot, and and arguably we could say that's our parking structure, because if you drive by it 340 days a year, it's plenty of parking available there. And then we also are purchased just very recently from the county, the old county senior center that used to be located across from ASU at University Way. We own that lot now for future parking development. And then we own several other lots that you might not even know. Hodel Way, which is between like the Poorhouse and Havasu Hardware. There's like a few of those lots. The city owns those and we maintain those. Birch Square. I think there's another one of those little pocket ones on the other side of the road up a little bit. So we have lots of parking infrastructure already in the downtown that's owned by the city. And then the parking in common, as we talked about last week or last month, it doesn't complicate it. It allowed for these uses. This is a McCulloch era parking policy, but it allowed for those uses of the downtown buildings without having to meet traditional parking requirements. And so, but that requires the property owner, which is different most times than the business owner. So there's two parties in there, to maintain their facility. But right now there's no synergy. You can go to some of those lots and the angle parking is this way. And then you go to the one right next to it, and angle parking is the opposite way. In the way that your vehicle's coming, you can't get yourself in that spot. And so those are the conversations we're having now with the Downtown Association. How can we bring everyone to the table to make those real low-hanging fruit viable option, with an eye on the future. So we're planning for future people, to be able to address whatever the needs may be in the future. I mean, who even knows what we're driving or how we're getting around in the future? I mean, it's, I never thought I would live in an era that, there's driverless vehicles, that you get into, or that I would get on an app to have someone come give me a ride somewhere. So, I mean, things are changing. So we're planning for all of that different stuff, for what I always say to just the future us's. So the people that are in the future that are, mayor and city manager and council and likewise have options, to address the needs of the citizens at that time.
One thing, we got an idea back from the downtown merchants, the downtown businesses as well, too, for those big events like Desert Storm or Winterfest, is that all the vendors come in, put up all of their booths and set up all their for their trades, and then they take the best parking spots. So through the special event application and permit process, we're asking the organizers to put together kind of a parking plan for their vendors. So if you own a business, probably the last place you want to park as a business owner, as an employee, is right in front. So that same type of approach when it comes to special events. So you need to find other areas to park and leave the parking in the area to those who are coming down to attend the event. So something very simple that we've incorporating as we move forward.
And I'd like to go back to the catalyst. Can you slowly go through the 4 sources of funding that you've mentioned along with the amounts? Thank you.
Yeah, James, I don't know where 4 sources came from. So this is what I know.
We have the Parks grant.
Oh, you're talking about the I thought you were talking about the second bridge. I missed the first word. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, you want to go. So the Parks grant was $1 million.
With the grant, we're going to end up using about $600,000 to $700,000 of that grant for the WIFA grant.
The ABC grant that was the winnings from the America's Best Community. We'll call it $1 million. It's a little less because we had some design in there, but $1 million.
And a couple $100,000 when it comes to general fund.
A couple $100,000 from the general fund. Yeah. Currently, and that's what Jess had mentioned, that it's under budget. Currently in the budget, it's $900,000 of general fund money, but it's under budget, so it's less contribution from the general fund than we have budgeted in our current budget year. Any other questions?
Need some plants in the audience.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, we're going to give you back about 8 minutes of your Friday. But before we do, we will not have coffee next month. Typically, we are dark for the summer months, but stay tuned. We'll still be in touch if there's things, but we won't have coffee next month. But we'd like to end with some fun facts about Lake Havasu City. And we're going to take our fun facts. So David and Joan, you can't answer these because we took them from yesterday's program for our candidate update. But I actually learned something new, and I thought I would get
There's some fun questions.
I should get this one, but I didn't get this one. How many mayors has the city had since 1979? That was when our first elected mayor our first appointed, I guess, by the council.
Total mayors?
How many total mayors are there? Okay, the answers are, these are your options. 28, 4, 11, or 7. Four mayors since 1979. Yeah, nice, since 1979. So 28, 4, 11, or 7? 7? Okay, the answer is 11. Yeah, so I'm the 11th mayor of Lake Havasu City. I didn't even know that till yesterday. So, very interesting. Okay, what was the city's first park? So there's 4 options to go from. Was it Rotary Community Park, Wheeler Park, Avalon Park, or Sarah Park? Avalon? The Wheeler Park, the one downtown? Okay, Wheeler Park is the winner. Yeah, I actually said Rotary, and I thought when they built the road in the 90s, that's when I thought Wheeler Park came, but I was just a kid back then. All right, so a couple of other things we have is, these are just fun facts. So yearly average for plan reviews, these are our development services department, how many plan reviews they do in a year, 4,100. Permits, they did 3,600 on average per year. And they do 13,900 inspections. So these are building inspections that occur through development services. We have 436 miles of streets in Lake Havasu City. So we maintain and operate, and we all drive on 436 miles of streets. There's 26 miles of sidewalks and 132 streetlights. Surprising for a community that we say we have no streetlights or sidewalks, but we do have 26 miles of them. There's 77 miles of washes. So all of the wash beds that go around our roadways. And then we have 490 miles of water mains, which goes to explain why we have to do water main replacement. Some of these are 50 years old, and 490 miles is a ton of that. And 390 miles of sewer lines is what our team operates and maintains. So lots of stuff for sure. So
am I the only one as a city manager that just is adding up the dollars every time you're like this many miles of roads to maintain, this many? There's a lot of services that we provide as a city. Doing the best that we can to make sure none of those break and doing a good job. But there's a lot there to maintain, isn't there?
Yeah, it can be overwhelming when you put it in perspectives like that. So, well, as always, it's so great to spend our Friday morning with you. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you after the summer. Yeah, take care.
Thank you.